Shalom Yasharallah, this is Yeshaya. I'm back at you with another car chronicle. On this one, I want to discuss manners. And why is it important to discuss manners? Well, manners deals with classism, believe it or not. In Spanish, we have a phrase for somebody that's rude. In fact, in English, it actually pretty much means the same thing. When you're rude in Spanish, the word is mal educado, which translated directly is poorly educated. In English, it's rude, which rude comes from the word rudimentary. Same place where we get ruddy from, when it was talking about King David. And the reason why it's very important to talk about that is because the Lord believes in classism. The higher classes have better training, better morals. So to give you an example, right? Lower class people eat pork, eat shrimp, crab, and lobster. Lower class people eat things for lower classes and do things that lower class people do. Higher class people spiritually, they don't commit adultery. Higher class people spiritually, they don't eat trash or animals that eat trash. And that's very important to understand. When you go into manners, right, you actually have Edomite finishing schools that teach rich and privileged children, not only Edomites, but mostly Edomites, how to have manners. Like when you eat spaghetti, it's good manners to put your napkin in your shirt so that you cover this, because you know spaghetti splatters a lot. That's part of having manners. You know, part of having manners is eating with a fork and a knife. You know, there may be differences, like such as with if you're eating chicken wings or some shit, but for the most part, you're supposed to eat your meals with a fork and a knife. This is all dealing with manners and classism. All that is one and the same, because when you see somebody, let's say, just to give an example, pissing on the street, that's low manners. That's somebody that's low class, because low manners is low class. And low manners means that they are very poorly educated. All that is all in the same, and it all goes into education. And that's why, believe it or not, they check for certain things when you go on a job interview. They look to see how educated you are. And by educated, it doesn't just mean intelligence, but it also means how are your mannerisms? How do you conduct yourself? How do you speak? You know, do you let the other person speak? Do you cut people off when you talk? All those things, because believe it or not, I know a lot of brothers in my camp will probably think I'm making this shit up, but even cutting people off is low class. That's why they educate you from a young age. When you have to interject when somebody's speaking, you say, excuse me. Saying thank you and please, that's all dealing with manners, and that's something that people with class, why do you think they call it low class or no class? You don't have no class. And some people, they say you're classy, because that's talking about the class of person you are. That's that. While we're in America, you know, words kind of have a semantic shift sometimes. But the truth of the matter is there's a lot of things that are telling in the language itself. Because like I said, when you're dealing with manners, that's all classism. That's all, you know, the better educated people, the higher educated people. That's why they call college higher education. Because you know, you have public education, you have the regular shit that you just went to school and didn't pay for. And then when you pay for your education, that's where you get real scholarship from, and people that really spent money to become more intelligent. And all that goes hand in hand with classism. All that is classism. All of it is to a higher or lower level version of classism. You know, and again, that goes back into how you have people that are educated, you know, because like I said, using the same example that I used, a person burping, for example, at a table, right? It's rude. It's considered rude, right? And what are you calling somebody when you're calling them rude? Bad or poorly educated. That's why they call people barbarians, because barbarians, although they were Israelites, they also were poorly educated Israelites. They just went out and went to war, did whatever they had to do. It wasn't like where you have like the Greeks that had universities and things like that to sit people down and teach them these things. You know, I mean, Greeks did other shit too, so I don't want to use them too much as a good example, but you know, you have, you know, like when you had Israelite parents, like the way children conduct themselves out in public, you know, you have lower class children that do shit, like I said, burp at the table. You have lower class children that talk about things that are inappropriate to talk about at the lunch table or the dinner table. And this is all considered low class. This is all considered rudimentary. Rude. Though I be rude in speech. Like there's a connection between all of that. And that connection is what I'm trying to show y'all. Because all of it comes together when it comes down to, like I said, table manners and just manners, period. Saying please and thank you. For example, I work with a guy who you gotta remind the motherfucker, what do you say? Like when you're a parent and somebody gives your child a gift, right? And your child doesn't say nothing, don't you always say to your child, what do you say? That's because you have to educate your child. Listen, when somebody does something for you, you say thank you. You know, that's by design. We have to do these things as part of educating. You know, because we educate our children. You know what I mean? Poorly educated children don't know how to say thank you. Like I said, the guy that I told you that I work with, that fucking guy never says thank you. You buy him ice, you buy him juice. The motherfucker just, you know, doesn't say nothing, and then you be like, yo, I literally have had to tell him a bunch of times, yo, you fucking Neanderthal, like fucking caveman. I tell him in Spanish. You know, but it's not his fault. It's because he's poorly educated. He's not. He doesn't have the level of education. You know, and that's something that is true. You know, I'm gonna go into a scripture or two now that I'm parked up. Let's see. Perfect example. And this ties in everything I'm talking about. Leviticus 20 and 23. And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nations. And what is it talking about with manners? The ways, right? Because when you have good manners, it means literally you have good ways about you. So saying please and thank you, those are good manners. Of the nation, which I cast out before you, because the Lord did not even care about them to give them law. So their manners are in the toilet. Their manners, their ways are in the toilet. For they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. So this literally ties in every point that I'm making. Because manners can be taken as ways, right? The ways of the nations, the Lord doesn't want us to deal with the ways of the nations. The manners of the nations, right? We are better in every way. You know, that's why the Lord gave us these laws, and the Lord told us how to walk and how to conduct ourselves. Because it's the laws, statutes, and commandments. That's why it says they're the schoolmaster. See, a person that knows how to do something simple as set the table, right? Table manners. Not blowing your fucking nose at a table. Like, not passing gas in public. Like, those, as funny and stupid as those things are, those all have to do with manners. Poorly educated people do poorly educated things. The nations are poorly educated because they don't have these laws, statutes, and commandments, so they do poor things. Poor doesn't mean poor in finances. Poor means like lacking. You could be poor in a lot of things. You got a lot of rich people that are poor. Look at all these fucking rappers. They're poor. They might be rich as fuck, but they're poor in their mannerisms. Like these women that get passed around, they're whores, right? Whorish women, they're poor in morality. So that's why we have to become rich in spirit. Rich in spirit means also rich in the way you carry yourself, right? So that your manners are good. It says, 1 Corinthians 15:33, be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. What is evil communications? Like telling people that it's okay to eat swine and do different things. That is wrong. That's evil communication. Being LGBT is okay. Like it's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with it. That's evil communications, and it corrupts good manners because now a man's manners become feminine or become something contrary to what the Lord created him to be and to do. So you see how all of this ties together. It's all one unit that is brought together by the way you conduct yourself, and it ties into your class, the class of person that you are. Because like I said, things like interrupting people while they're talking, like the Bible actually goes into that. The Bible actually tells you not to interrupt people in the midst of their speaking. And that's why I harp heavily at camp about it, because when brothers cut each other off, that's poor manners. That's poor manners, poor mannerisms, poor ways. Your ways are wrong. When we go out to camp and we tell people not to eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, because those ways are wrong. Those manners are wrong. That's why it says 2 different manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels in Genesis, the 25th chapter. 2 different kinds of people with 2 different ways. You see how it all ties together? But with that, I just wanted to go into that a little bit. Lord willing, this was edifying. But with that, I'm going to say shalom.